Can you believe this? Just moments ago, storage hunter Mary picked up a junk-filled locker for next to nothing, and somehow found a mysterious military-grade infrared imaging device inside. Rumor has it, this is the kind of equipment only the CIA would normally be qualified to use. So the real question is Mary about to make a fortune, or accidentally step into something way bigger than she bargained for? This is a group of special storage hunters. They dig through abandoned lockers, uncover unexpected treasures, and turn them into serious money. Today, 4 buyers are heading to an auction in North Hollywood, California. Over on Jared and Brandy's side, the bald guy says something completely unexpected. This time, he's only bidding on units they actually need. If it's not a must-have, he's not touching it. That kind of behavior is so unusual, Brandy starts wondering if he hit his bald head a little too hard the night before. Then we cut over to Mary. Hoping to improve her odds of spotting something valuable, she brings along her friend Iris, a woman with a kitchen background who helped her out before. But in exchange for coming along, Mary has to help Iris find a good kitchen-themed unit. Then the scene shifts to unit number 1. The moment the door opens, Renee notices a fishing rod. To him, they're in Hollywood now. They should be finding film gear, props, or photography equipment, not some random fishing pole. Meanwhile, Jared and Brandy notice a few outfits in decent condition, but with Brandy's figure, those clothes clearly aren't something she's going to wear, so the two of them don't seem very interested. The only people who really spot something curious are Mary and Iris. They notice an old film reel tucked away inside. Iris, being a little naive, immediately starts imagining that it could contain some kind of rare or unreleased movie footage. Bidding starts fast. Most of the buyers are shaking their heads, showing no interest, so the only real competition ends up being Mary and an older man wearing sunglasses. With Iris helping her stay calm, Mary manages to win the first unit for just $110. Then we move on to unit number 2. The moment the door rolls up, the auctioneer starts talking it up like it's a hot unit. But then a wooden cabinet suddenly tips over, nearly taking him out and leaving him so rattled he can barely think straight. He starts rambling nonsense like he forgot where he even is. Meanwhile, Jared surprisingly starts giving a rational breakdown for once. The furniture inside might look valuable at first glance, but in his opinion, it's the kind of stuff that looks good on the outside and falls apart once you get it home. He says this is not the time to do something stupid. Honestly, for once, the bald guy actually sounds like he knows what he's talking about. But Renee sees it completely differently. In his mind, this unit has real potential. He notices several pieces of furniture that were packed up properly and figures if someone bought this unit, they'd practically have enough to furnish a decent bachelor apartment. Then the bidding begins. Even though Jared claims he doesn't want it, he immediately starts stirring the pot. The second Renee opens at $100, Jared starts mocking him. That's how you bid on a locker? Come on, bump it to $1,000. And just like that, he turns the whole auction upside down. But Renee isn't scared of him at all. He goes right back at Jared, and after several rounds, the price climbs to $1,600. Even then, Jared still doesn't feel like he's caused enough trouble, so just before stepping away, he throws in another $400. And then, out of nowhere, Renee backs off. At that moment, Jared realizes the joke is on him. Instead of messing somebody else up, he ends up dragging himself into the mess and gets stuck buying the unit for $2,000. Then we move to unit number 3. Inside, Mary and Iris find a dishwasher, a coffee maker, and an oven. On paper, it's exactly the kind of kitchen equipment they were hoping for, but the problem is, everything looks pretty old, and the rest of the appliances in the locker are hard to sort through. For this unlikely little duo, the workload is starting to look like a lot. Renee, on the other hand, spots something much more interesting: outdoor and off-road gear. That immediately gets his attention. In his eyes, this locker might have way more upside than it first appears. Then the bidding starts. Renee casually blends himself into Mary and Iris's little group and starts bidding against a few random outsiders. Since none of the other buyers seem especially interested, Renee ends up winning the locker pretty easily for just $110. Once the auction ends, Mary and Iris head back to their locker first and start sorting through everything. They find a box of fishing gear, some tools, and a high-tech pair of binoculars. None of it is what they were hoping for, but it still brings in $170, which means they've already made their money back. Then they find drill bits, a genuine leather belt, and some mechanical parts, adding another $200. And then things get interesting. Inside a safe, the two of them uncover another piece of high-tech equipment. The problem is, neither the older one nor the younger one has the slightest clue what it actually does. So with no better option, they decide to take it in for an appraisal. Now let's check back in with Renee. He starts unloading the stuff from his unit: a bicycle near the entrance, a cash register, and a pair of riding boots. That alone brings in $110, so he's already broken even. Then a coffee maker, some motorcycle gear, and a small cabinet add another $185. After that, he opens a storage box and finds something unexpected, a set of cute, sexy cheerleader uniforms. With a grin on his face, Renee says this kind of treasure definitely has to be saved for Casey. Looks like somebody's planning to reward himself when he gets home. Then a brand new camera, the dishwasher, and an antique cabinet bring in another $490. As more sports equipment, mechanical gear, and antique furniture keep turning up, Renee's total profit climbs past $1,000, landing at $1,210. After the big haul, Renee gets so excited that he hops onto a manual treadmill and apparently completes his first workout in nearly 10 years. Then, just before leaving, he finds one more interesting item: a confetti blower. One of those machines that shoots colorful paper into the air and makes everything look like a celebration. After looking it over for a while, Renee starts thinking it might actually be worth some money, so he happily takes it off for an appraisal. Now back to Jared and Brandy. The two of them are going through their unit piece by piece. Right away, they pull out a small stack of cash. It's not a lot, but at least it's a decent start. After that, a broken printer and a chunk of rose-colored silver only bring in about $70, which is pretty disappointing. Thankfully, the next finds are much better. A real leather executive chair, sound equipment, and some toolboxes bring in $820. That finally starts to lift their mood. Then cleaners, an engine, and a compressor get added to the pile. Their total earnings eventually push past $1,000, but they're still nowhere near making their money back. Then Jared's inner nerd comes alive when he pulls a full X-Men costume set out of a box. That instantly lights up every guy in the room. Even Brandy joins in on the fun, saying that if Jared ever buys another trash unit like this again, she'll personally use the costume to deal with him herself. In the end, Jared and Brandy's locker only brings in $1,462 total. After spending $2,000, they end the day with a painful $538 loss. Then we head back to Mary and Iris, who are now getting their device checked by a technician named Nick. It turns out the equipment they found is actually a FLIR infrared camera. According to Nick, this kind of camera can be used to detect household electrical leaks, water leaks, overheating, and overloaded electrical panels. But the truth is, infrared imaging technology is far more advanced than most people realize. This camera is so sensitive it can spot a single drop of water on a carpet from across the room. It almost looks like it can see light itself. After Nick and Iris test it, they confirm that the camera is working extremely well. So when Mary asks what it's worth, Nick doesn't hesitate. He offers $4,000 on the spot. The second that number comes out, Mary is practically speechless. This isn't just a good score, this is a monster hit. By the end, Mary's locker brings in $4,370 total. After subtracting the $110 she paid, she walks away with an incredible $4,260 profit. Finally, we check back in with Renee. He brings the confetti blower to a supplier named John for an appraisal. John says he spent 20 years supplying confetti equipment to Times Square in New York, so he knows this kind of machine inside and out. After testing it, John admits the blower works well. But when Renee asks about the value, John hesitates. He explains that this is really more of a consumer-grade blower, something that works fine for house parties or small events. For his business, though, it's just not high-end enough, so he offers only $75. That immediately crushes Renee's hopes. You can tell he wants to say, "What, are you trying to rob me here?" But there's not much he can do about it. So after at least getting to enjoy the confetti flying everywhere one last time, he packs up and moves on. That leaves Renee's final total at $1,325. Since he only spent $110, he still walks away with a solid $1,215 profit. And in the end, this episode's biggest steal unexpectedly goes to Mary.